She told the arrogant Playboy at table 7 to stop wasting her time. The entire speed dating venue went silent. What she didn't realize was that the man smirking across from her was the werewolf alpha who'd been searching for his fated mate for 2 centuries. And the moment she'd walked through that door, every instinct in his body had roared mine. The fluorescent lights of the community center buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows across rows of small tables. Maya Chen adjusted her name tag for the 3rd time, wondering why she'd let her sister talk her into this. 29 years old, and here she was at a speed dating event in downtown Portland, surrounded by desperate singles and the faint smell of cheap coffee. "You promised you'd try." Her sister's voice echoed in her head. "Just one event. What's the worst that could happen?" Maya was about to find out. The coordinator, a perky woman with a clipboard, clapped her hands. "Ladies, please take your seats. Gentlemen, you'll rotate every 7 minutes when you hear the bell. Remember, keep an open mind and have fun." Maya slid into the chair at table 12, smoothing down her navy blue dress. She'd chosen it specifically because it was professional, not too revealing. The kind of outfit that said, "I'm here, but I'm not desperate." The first 3 rotations were exactly as painful as she'd anticipated. Table 1, an accountant who spent 6 minutes talking about his model train collection. Table 2, a divorced father of 3 who showed her 42 photos of his children. Table 3, a man who asked if she'd ever considered polyamory within the first 30 seconds. By the time the 4th rotation began, Maya was checking her watch every 20 seconds, calculating exactly how long until she could leave without her sister guilt tripping her for a month. Then he sat down at her table. Maya looked up and immediately regretted it. The man sliding into the chair across from her was absurdly, almost offensively handsome. Dark hair that looked like he'd run his fingers through it repeatedly, sharp jawline, broad shoulders that strained against his black Henley shirt. But it was his eyes that caught her, held her. They were unusual, almost amber in the fluorescent light, and they were staring at her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. He didn't say hello, didn't introduce himself, just kept staring at her like she was the only person in the entire room. Maya cleared her throat. "Hi, I'm Maya. You're supposed to tell me your name." The corner of his mouth lifted. "Dominic." His voice was deep, rough around the edges like whiskey poured over gravel. "And you smell like jasmine and something else. Something sweet." Maya blinked. "That's a weird thing to say to someone you just met, is it?" He leaned forward, elbows on the table, bringing himself closer. His gaze dropped to her neck, then back to her eyes. "I think honesty is underrated in situations like this, don't you?" Red flags were practically waving in Maya's peripheral vision. She'd been on enough bad dates to recognize a player when she saw one. The intense eye contact, the deliberate invasion of personal space, the practiced charm that probably worked on every woman he met. "Let me guess," she said, crossing her arms. "You use that line on everyone. Which line? The one about smelling sweet or the one about honesty?" "Both. Neither are lines." He tilted his head slightly, studying her face like he was memorizing every detail. "They're observations. You do smell incredible, and I am being honest. Most of the women here tonight are nice, pleasant, forgettable. You're different." Maya felt heat rising to her cheeks and hated herself for it. "Different how?" "You're annoyed with me already." His smile widened, showing very white teeth. "Most women would be flattered." "I'm not most women, no," Dominic said softly, something flickering in those strange amber eyes. "You're absolutely not." The way he said it made Maya's stomach flip. She forced herself to look away, focusing on her hands folded on the table. "So what do you do, Dominic? When you're not attending speed dating events to practice your pickup lines on unsuspecting women?" "I run a security company, private contracts, personal protection, that sort of thing." He hadn't looked away from her face, not even for a second. "What about you, Maya? What do you do when you're not rejecting men at community centers?" "I'm a translator," she said. "Freelance. I work with legal documents mostly. Contracts. Depositions. 5 languages. His eyebrows rose slightly. Impressive. Which languages? Mandarin, Spanish, French, Arabic, and English, obviously. My parents were diplomats. We moved around a lot when I was growing up. That explains it, Dominic murmured. Explains what? Why you carry yourself like you're ready to run at any moment, like you've never stayed anywhere long enough to put down roots. Maya's breath caught. That was uncomfortably perceptive for someone she'd known for less than 3 minutes. You don't know anything about me. I know you're here because someone convinced you to come, not because you wanted to. I know you've been checking your watch every few minutes since I sat down. I know you think I'm arrogant and probably a waste of your time. He leaned back in his chair, that infuriating smile still playing at his lips. And I know that despite all of that, your heart rate increased the moment I walked up to this table. Maya's jaw tightened. You're right about one thing. You are a waste of my time. The bell hadn't rung yet. She had 4 more minutes of this rotation, 4 more minutes of this absurdly attractive man staring at her like he could see straight through her carefully constructed walls. Tell me something, Dominic said, his tone shifting slightly, becoming more serious. Do you believe in fate? In what? Fate. Destiny. The idea that some things are meant to be, no matter how much we fight against them. Maya laughed, sharp and bitter. No. I believe in choice. In making your own path. Fate is just an excuse people use when they don't want to take responsibility for their decisions. Interesting. Dominic's eyes never wavered. What if I told you that the moment you walked into this room tonight I knew something had changed? That every instinct I have is telling me you're important. That meeting you wasn't random chance but something that was always going to happen. I'd say you need better material, Maya replied, even as something in her chest tightened. The intense stare, the ridiculous romantic declarations. It's too much. You're trying too hard. Am I? He reached across the table, not touching her, just laying his hand palm up between them. An invitation. Tell me your pulse isn't racing right now. Tell me you don't feel this pull between us. This connection that doesn't make any logical sense but exists anyway. Maya stared at his hand, long fingers, calloused palms, a thin white scar across his knuckles. She could feel the heat radiating from his skin even with 6 inches of distance between them. Every rational part of her brain was screaming to pull back, to shut this down, to protect herself from whatever game he was playing. But there was something else. Something she didn't want to acknowledge. A strange pull in her chest, a feeling like recognition even though she'd never seen this man before in her life. I don't know you, she said quietly. No, Dominic agreed. Not yet. But you will. The certainty in his voice should have annoyed her. Instead, it sent a shiver down her spine. The bell rang, sharp and jarring in the tension that had built between them. Around the room, men stood up, gathering their name tags and water bottles, preparing to rotate to the next table. Dominic didn't move. He kept his hand extended between them, kept his eyes locked on hers. Until next time, Maya, he said softly. There won't be a next time. She forced steel into her voice even as her hands trembled slightly in her lap. This is it. Our 7 minutes are up. You'll rotate to the next table. I'll forget about you by the time I get home, and we'll never see each other again. Dominic's smile was gentle, almost sad. You really believe that? I have to, Maya said, because the alternative is admitting that a complete stranger can walk into my life and turn everything upside down in 7 minutes, and I'm not ready for that. I'll never be ready for that. Then I'll wait, he said simply. Until you are. He stood up slowly, like leaving the table physically hurt him. As he moved past her to the next rotation, he paused, close enough that she could feel the warmth of his body, smell something wild and earthy that shouldn't exist in a sterile community center. This isn't over, he murmured, so quietly that only she could hear. "We've only just begun." Then he was gone, moving to table 13, where a blonde woman in a red dress immediately brightened at his arrival. Maya watched him go, hating the hollow feeling in her chest, hating the way her body wanted to follow him across the room. The next 3 rotations passed in a blur. She smiled mechanically, answered questions about her job and hobbies, checked the boxes on her scorecard without really seeing the names. But she could feel Dominic's eyes on her from across the room. Every time she glanced up, he was looking at her, even while supposedly engaged in conversation with other women. It should have been creepy. Instead, it felt like a promise. When the event finally ended, Maya grabbed her coat and headed for the exit, desperate for fresh air and distance from whatever had just happened. The October night was cold, rain threatening in the heavy clouds overhead. She'd parked 3 blocks away to save money on parking, and now she regretted it as the temperature bit through her thin jacket. "Maya," a voice called from behind her. She didn't need to turn around to know who it was. That rough whiskey voice was already imprinted in her memory. "Keep walking," she told herself. "Don't engage. Don't give him an opening." But her feet slowed, then stopped. She turned around. Dominic stood under a streetlight, hands in his pockets, looking at her with an expression that was nothing like the cocky playboy from the speed dating table. He looked uncertain, almost vulnerable, and somehow that was more dangerous than all his smooth lines combined. "You're following me now?" Maya tried to keep her voice light, teasing, but it came out shakier than she intended. "That's definitely crossing a line. I needed to talk to you," he said, taking a step closer, away from all those people, all that noise. "Just you and me." We talked. For 7 minutes. That was the deal. That wasn't talking. Dominic closed the distance between them until he was standing just outside her personal space, close enough to touch but not touching. That was me trying not to scare you, trying to act normal when everything in me was screaming to tell you the truth. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. "What truth?" "That I've been looking for you." His voice dropped lower, urgent and raw. "Not you specifically. I didn't know your name or your face, but someone like you. Someone who makes the world go quiet and loud at the same time. Someone who smells like home even though I've never had a home. Someone whose very existence feels like the answer to a question I've been asking my entire life." "This is insane," Maya whispered, but she didn't step back. "You're talking like we're in some romance novel, like there's such a thing as soulmates, or destiny, or whatever fantasy you're selling. What if there is?" Dominic's hand lifted slowly, giving her every chance to move away, and brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. His fingers were warm against her skin, and Maya felt that touch all the way down to her toes. What if some bonds are stronger than logic? What if some connections exist before we're even born, written into our bones and blood? "I don't believe in that," Maya said, but her voice had lost its conviction. "I believe in compatibility, in shared values and common interests, in relationships built over time through trust and communication, not in instant recognition and magnetic pulls and all this intensity that doesn't make sense." "Then explain this," Dominic said softly. "Explain why you're still standing here instead of walking away. Explain why your pupils are dilated and your breathing has changed and you're leaning toward me even as you're telling me this doesn't make sense." "I can't," Maya admitted, and it felt like surrendering something important. "I don't understand what's happening." "That's because you're trying to think your way through something that exists beyond thought." His thumb traced along her jawline, gentle and reverent. "I know this is fast. I know I sound crazy. But I need you to listen to me very carefully, Maya. There are things about me you don't know. Things that would change everything." "Then tell me," she said, "whatever it is. Just say it." "I can't." "Not yet." His expression was pained. "You'll run, and I can't risk that." Not when I've just found you. This is ridiculous, Maya said, but she didn't pull away from his touch. You want me to trust you, but you won't be honest with me? That's not how any of this works. I'm being as honest as I can be right now. Dominic's other hand came up to cup her face, holding her gently like she was something precious and breakable. I'm telling you that meeting you tonight changed everything. I'm telling you that I want to know everything about you, every story, every scar, every dream you've ever had. I'm telling you that if you give me a chance, I will spend every day proving that this thing between us is real. Maya's breath caught. She should say no. Should protect herself from this intensity, this man who spoke in absolutes, and looked at her like she hung the moon. But there was something in his eyes, in the way he held her so carefully, that made her want to believe. One date, she heard herself say. One real date where you act like a normal human being and tell me actual facts about your life. No more cryptic declarations or intense staring. Just conversation. Dominic's face transformed. The smile that spread across his features was pure joy, unguarded and bright. One date, he agreed. I can do that. He pulled out his phone. What's your number? Maya recited it, watching as he typed it in with hands that trembled slightly. The fact that he seemed as affected by this as she was made something soften in her chest. When? She asked. Tomorrow, Dominic said immediately. Tonight if you'd let me. But I'm trying to act normal and not scare you off. Tomorrow's Saturday, Maya said. I usually spend Saturdays working, translating waits for no one. Then Sunday, he countered. Or next Friday. Or any day that you're free. I'm flexible. I'll rearrange my entire life if it means spending time with you. That's the kind of intensity I'm talking about, Maya said, but she was smiling despite herself. Normal people don't rearrange their entire lives for someone they met at speed dating. Then I guess I'm not normal, Dominic said quietly, and something in his tone made Maya shiver. But you already knew that, didn't you? She had, from the moment he'd sat down across from her. She'd known there was something different about him, something that set him apart from every other man in that room, every other person she'd ever met. Sunday, she said. 2:00. There's a coffee shop on Burnside, the one with the blue awning. Meet me there. Dominic nodded, committing it to memory. Sunday at 2. I'll be there. He stepped back reluctantly, letting his hands fall away from her face. The loss of his warmth felt like a physical ache. Get home safe, he said. Text me when you're inside so I know you made it. We just met, Maya pointed out. You don't get to worry about me yet. Too late, Dominic said simply. I've been worrying about you before I even knew you existed. Maya turned and walked toward her car before she could do something stupid like kiss him. She could feel his eyes on her back the entire 3 blocks, a warm weight between her shoulder blades. When she finally reached her ancient Honda Civic, she looked back. He was still standing under the streetlight, watching her, making sure she was safe. Something in her chest cracked open at the sight. She got in the car, locked the doors and sat there for a moment, hands shaking on the steering wheel. What had just happened? An hour ago she'd been dreading this entire evening. Now she was counting down the hours until Sunday at 2:00, until she could see Dominic again and figure out if this strange connection was real or just a beautiful delusion. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. Just making sure you have my number now. Get home safe, Maya. She saved the contact, then typed back. This is borderline stalkerish behavior. You know that, right? His response came immediately. I prefer to think of it as dedicated interest. Maya found herself smiling as she started the car. She pulled out of the parking space and headed home, her mind racing with everything that had happened, the way Dominic had looked at her, the things he'd said, the feeling that something fundamental had shifted in her world. Her phone rang as she was pulling into her apartment complex. Her sister's name flashed on the screen. So? Chloe demanded the moment Maya answered. How was it? Did you meet anyone? You have to tell me everything. It was fine, Maya said, trying to sound casual as she gathered her purse and jacket. Met a few people. Nothing special. Liar, Chloe said cheerfully. I can hear it in your voice. You met someone. Who is he? What does he do? Is he hot? Maya sighed, unlocking her apartment door and flipping on the lights. His name is Dominic. He runs a security company. And yes, objectively speaking, he's attractive. Objectively speaking, Chloe repeated, laughing. That's the most Maya thing you've ever said. Just admit you think he's hot. Fine. He's hot. Maya kicked off her heels and collapsed onto her couch. He's also intense and says things that don't make sense and looks at me like I'm the answer to all his prayers, which is frankly terrifying. Terrifying good or terrifying bad? I don't know yet, Maya admitted. We're going out on Sunday. I need you to talk me out of it. Absolutely not, Chloe said firmly. You need this. You've been hiding behind your work and your emotional walls for too long. Sometimes intense is good. Sometimes intense means someone actually cares enough to show it. Or sometimes intense means someone is unhinged and I'm about to make a terrible decision. Maya countered, but even as she said it, she was thinking about the way Dominic had touched her face. So gentle and careful, like she was something precious. I'm texting you his full name and photo before the date, Chloe said. Standard safety protocol. If you don't check in by 5 o'clock, I'm calling the police. You're so dramatic, Maya said, but warmth spread through her chest. I love you too, sis. They talked for another 20 minutes before Maya finally hung up and got ready for bed. But sleep didn't come easily. She lay in the darkness, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of her encounter with Dominic, the way his eyes had tracked her across the room, the certainty in his voice when he'd said they'd see each other again, the feeling of his hands on her face, warm and solid and real. She picked up her phone from the nightstand, opening their brief text thread. Before she could second-guess herself, she typed, I'm home safe. His response came within seconds, like he'd been waiting for it. Good. Sleep well, Maya. I'll be thinking about you. She shouldn't have smiled at that. Shouldn't have felt her heart skip at such a simple message. But she did. Good night, Dominic, she typed back, then forced herself to put the phone down and close her eyes. Across the city, in a penthouse apartment overlooking the river, Dominic stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, staring out at the lights of Portland. His phone was clutched in his hand, Maya's final text glowing on the screen. She's real, he said quietly to the empty room. After all this time, she's finally real. A low growl rumbled in his chest, the wolf rising to the surface, wanting out, wanting to run to her apartment and guard her door through the night. He forced it down with effort. Too fast, he was already pushing too hard, moving too quickly. But the mate bond had snapped into place the moment Maya had walked into that community center. And fighting it was like fighting gravity. Impossible. Exhausting. Pointless. He'd spent 200 years searching. 2 centuries of watching his pack members find their fated mates while he remained alone. Watching his friends build families while he governed from isolation. He'd almost given up hope. Almost convinced himself that some wolves weren't meant for that kind of bond. That he was destined to lead alone. Then Maya Chen had walked through that door, and his entire world had rearranged itself around her. The jasmine scent that called to every instinct he had. The way her eyes had flashed with defiance when she'd challenged him. The fierce intelligence and careful walls that spoke of old hurts and hard-won strength. His mate. His. The wolf snarled possessively, wanting to mark her, claim her, make sure every supernatural creature within 100 miles knew she was protected. But Maya didn't know about werewolves, didn't know about the supernatural world that existed in the shadows of her normal life, didn't know that the man she'd agreed to have coffee with was the alpha of the Pacific Northwest pack, one of the most powerful werewolves in North America. Telling her would change everything. Might send her running. Might make her look at him with fear instead of that careful curiosity he'd seen in her eyes tonight. But keeping it from her was a betrayal. The mate bond demanded honesty, demanded full disclosure, demanded that she choose him with all the facts laid bare. Dominic's phone buzzed with an incoming call. Marcus, his beta and oldest friend. The contact name read, "What?" Dominic growled into the phone. "Did you find her?" Marcus asked. The entire pack could feel the bond snap into place. Half our wolves are ready to storm the streets looking for her. "I found her," Dominic said, his voice softening. "Her name is Maya. She's human. She doesn't know what I am. She agreed to see me again on Sunday." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Are you going to tell her?" "I don't know," Dominic admitted. "If I tell her too soon, I'll lose her. If I wait too long, she'll feel betrayed." "There's no good answer here. You'll figure it out," Marcus said confidently. "The mate bond doesn't make mistakes. If she's yours, she'll understand. And if she doesn't, then you fight for her." Marcus's tone turned serious. "You've waited 200 years for this, Dom. Don't let fear make you give up before you've even started." "I'm not giving up," Dominic said quietly, looking down at Maya's text on his screen. "I'm never giving up on her." "Good. Because the pack is already planning the mating ceremony. You might want to slow them down before they scare her off." Dominic laughed despite himself. "Tell them to wait until at least the third date before they start planning anything." Marcus snorted. "You know how pack gets when their alpha finds his mate. This is the best news we've had in decades. They're not going to contain themselves." "Then you contain them," Dominic ordered. "That's what I pay you for." "You don't pay me," Marcus pointed out. "I volunteer because someone has to keep you from brooding yourself to death." They talked for a few more minutes before Dominic ended the call and returned to staring out at the city. Somewhere out there, Maya was sleeping. Dreaming. Safe in her apartment, unaware that her life had just changed forever. He would protect her, would court her properly, give her time to know him before revealing the truth about his nature. Would make her fall for him so completely that when the truth finally came out, it wouldn't matter. It had to work because the alternative, living without his mate after finally finding her, was unthinkable. Sunday couldn't come fast enough. Maya woke up Saturday morning to 17 text messages from Chloe, each one more excited than the last. She groaned and buried her face in her pillow, but couldn't quite suppress the smile tugging at her lips. Her phone buzzed with a new message. This one wasn't from Chloe. "Good morning," it read. "I know I should wait until tomorrow to talk to you, but I've never been good at patience. I hope you slept well." Maya stared at the message, her heart doing a stupid little flip in her chest. This was too much. Too fast. Too intense. She should establish boundaries, make it clear that they needed to slow down. Instead, she found herself typing, "I slept fine." "You?" "Not well," came his immediate response. "Kept thinking about Jasmine and Sunday at 2 o'clock. Maya bit her lip. "That's still 29 hours away." "Feels like 29 years, Dominic replied. "Tell me something about yourself. Something I wouldn't learn from a first date conversation." "Why?" Maya typed, then added, "Are you trying to skip ahead?" "I'm trying to know you," he wrote back. "Every detail, every story. I want to understand what makes you laugh, what makes you think, what keeps you up at night besides overthinker insomnia. How do you know I have insomnia? Lucky guess. Or maybe I recognize someone else who thinks too much about things that can't be controlled." Maya found herself curling up on her couch, coffee forgotten on the table, lost in conversation with a man she'd known for less than 24 hours. They texted throughout the day. Small things at first. Favorite books, childhood memories, embarrassing moments, but it deepened as the hours passed. moving into territory that Maya rarely explored even with people she'd known for years. She told him about growing up in diplomatic households, always the outsider, always learning new languages and customs but never quite belonging anywhere. About her parents' divorce when she was 16, how it had shattered her illusion of permanence. About her fear of letting people in because everyone she'd ever cared about had eventually left. Dominic shared pieces of his own story, about losing his parents young, about being raised by his grandfather who'd taught him everything about leadership and responsibility, about the weight of running a company at 25 when most people his age were still figuring out their careers, about the loneliness that came with being the person everyone relied on but no one truly knew. "I shouldn't be telling you this," Maya typed at one point. "We haven't even had our first date yet." "Maybe that's why it's easier," Dominic replied. "No pressure. No expectations. Just honesty." By the time evening rolled around, Maya realized she'd spent the entire day on her couch, neglecting her translation work, doing nothing but talk to Dominic. It should have worried her. Instead, it felt right. Her phone rang. Dominic's name on the screen. She answered. "Hi." His rough voice filled her ear, and something in her chest settled at the sound. "I know we're texting, but I wanted to hear your voice." "That's very smooth," Maya said, but she was smiling. "I'm serious." Dominic's tone dropped lower. "Your voice does something to me, Maya. Makes everything else go quiet. You really need to work on your intensity levels," she said, but there was no bite to it. "Normal people don't say things like that." "I told you I'm not normal," he reminded her. "Are you starting to believe me?" "Maybe," Maya admitted quietly. "You're definitely not like anyone I've ever met." "Is that good or bad?" "I don't know yet." She curled up tighter on the couch, phone pressed to her ear. "Ask me again after Sunday." "Sunday," Dominic repeated. 2 o'clock. The coffee shop with the blue awning. I'll be there at 1:45. "That's early," Maya pointed out. "I want to make sure I get a good table," he said. "Plus, I don't trust my patients to get me there at exactly 2. "You could just wait," Maya suggested. "Build some anticipation." "I've been waiting for you my entire life," Dominic said quietly. "I'm done with patience." There he went again, saying things that were too much, too intense, too everything. But Maya's breath caught anyway, her heart hammering against her ribs. "Tomorrow," she said. "We'll see if all this intensity translates into actual compatibility." "It will," Dominic said with absolute certainty. "I know it will." "How can you be so sure?" "Because I've never been more sure of anything in my life." They talked until midnight. About nothing and everything. Maya told him about her favorite clients, the legal cases she'd translated that had actually made a difference. Dominic told her about security contracts that had saved lives, about the responsibility of protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. When they finally hung up, Maya lay in bed staring at the ceiling again, but this time, she was smiling. Sunday morning arrived with rain. Maya changed her outfit 4 times before settling on dark jeans, a soft green sweater, and her favorite leather jacket, casual but put together, like she hadn't spent 2 hours agonizing over what to wear. She arrived at the coffee shop at exactly 2 o'clock. Dominic was already there, sitting at a corner table, 2 cups of coffee waiting. He stood the moment he saw her, and Maya's breath caught. He looked different in daylight, still impossibly handsome, but there was something else. Something in the way he moved, fluid and predatory, that made her skin prickle with awareness. "You're here," he said, like he'd been afraid she wouldn't show. "I said I would be," Maya replied, sliding into the seat across from him. "I keep my promises." "I got you a latte," Dominic said, pushing 1 cup toward her. "Oat milk, 1 pump of vanilla, extra hot. But if that's not right, I can get you something else." "How did you know my coffee order?" Maya asked, staring at the cup. "You never asked." "Lucky guess," he said, but his eyes were warm. "Or maybe I'm just paying attention." They fell into conversation easily. Easier than should have been possible for a first date. Dominic asked questions and actually listened to the answers. He was curious about her work, her travels, her thoughts on everything from politics to philosophy. He didn't try to impress her with stories about himself. Instead, he focused entirely on her, like she was the most fascinating person he'd ever met. The intensity from Friday night was still there, but tempered now. More controlled. He'd clearly taken her request for normalcy seriously, but Maya could feel it underneath. The same pull that had made her stop on the street 2 nights ago. The same magnetism that had kept her texting him for 16 hours yesterday. "Tell me about your company," Maya said, wrapping her hands around her latte. "Security seems like a vague term. What exactly do you do?" "We provide protection services," Dominic said. "Personal security for high-risk clients, threat assessment, crisis management. Sometimes that means bodyguards. Sometimes it means cybersecurity. Sometimes it means extraction from dangerous situations." "That sounds intense," Maya said. "And dangerous." "It can be," Dominic admitted. "But I'm good at it. My team is good at it. We've built a reputation for being the best at what we do." "How did you get into that line of work?" "Family business," he said. "My grandfather started the company. I inherited it when he died." "I'm sorry," Maya said softly. "How old were you?" 25. Dominic's expression was carefully neutral, but Maya could see old pain in his eyes. Too young to take over something that big. But he'd prepared me my whole life, taught me everything I needed to know. He believed in duty, in responsibility, in protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. Still, that must have been hard, Maya said. Taking on all that responsibility when you were grieving. It was, Dominic agreed, but it gave me purpose. Gave me something to focus on besides the loss. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the rain pattering against the windows. The coffee shop was warm and cozy, filled with the smell of espresso and cinnamon. Other couples chatted at nearby tables, but Maya barely noticed them. Her entire focus was on Dominic, on the way his hands wrapped around his cup, on the way he looked at her like she was something precious. "Your turn," Dominic said. "Tell me something real, something that matters to you." Maya considered the question, taking a sip of her perfect latte. "I think languages are magic," she said finally. "Not in a literal sense, but in the way they shape how we see the world. Every language has concepts that don't translate, ways of thinking that are unique to that culture. When I translate, I'm not just converting words, I'm bridging entire worldviews." Dominic leaned forward, genuinely interested. "Give me an example." "Arabic has this word, tarab." Maya's expression became animated as she spoke, her hands gesturing to illustrate. "It means a state of ecstasy or enchantment induced by music or poetry. It's this overwhelming emotional response to beauty that makes you want to cry and laugh at the same time. English doesn't have a single word for that feeling. We have to use whole sentences to describe what Arabic captures in 5 letters. That's beautiful," Dominic said softly. "What about Mandarin?" "Oh, there are hundreds," Maya said, warming to the subject. "One of my favorites is Yuan Fen. It's the idea that relationships are predestined, that you're bound to certain people by fate or fortune. Not just romantic relationships, but friendships, family, anyone who's supposed to be in your life." "Do you believe that?" Dominic asked. "The predestination part?" Maya paused, thinking about the question seriously. "A week ago, I would have said no. I would have said we make our own connections, that relationships are built on choice and effort, not cosmic design. And now? Now I'm not so sure," Maya admitted quietly. "Because sitting here with you feels like Yuan Fen. Like somehow this was always going to happen, even though that doesn't make any logical sense." Dominic's hand moved across the table, palm up. An invitation. Maya hesitated only a moment before placing her hand in his. His fingers closed around hers, warm and gentle and sure. "What if it does make sense?" he said. "Not logical sense, but a different kind of sense, the kind that exists in your bones before your brain can catch up." "You're doing it again," Maya said, but she didn't pull her hand away. "The intensity thing. I can't help it," Dominic said. "Not with you. Everything I feel around you is intense. It's like the volume's been turned up on every sensation, every emotion. When you smile, it's like the sun coming out. When you laugh, I want to memorize the sound. When you touch me." His fingers tightened slightly on hers. "It feels like coming home." Maya's breath caught. "You barely know me." "I know enough," Dominic said. "I know you're brilliant and guarded and brave. I know you've been hurt before and you've built walls to protect yourself. I know you think in 5 languages but sometimes struggle to express what you're feeling in any of them. I know you're scared of this thing between us because it's happening too fast and too powerfully, and it doesn't fit your careful, logical worldview. And I know that, despite all of that, you're here. You're holding my hand. You're giving this a chance. How do you know all that?" Maya whispered. "Because I pay attention," Dominic said simply. "And because I recognize someone else who's been lonely for a long time, waiting for someone who actually sees them." They sat there, hands linked across the table, rain drumming on the windows, the world narrowing down to just the two of them. Maya knew she should be cautious, should protect herself, should remember that she'd known this man for less than 3 days. But there was something about Dominic that made her want to be brave, want to risk the potential hurt for the possibility of something real. "Tell me something you're afraid of," she said. "Something true." Dominic was quiet for a long moment. "Losing you," he said finally. "Before I've even really had you, I'm afraid that when you learn everything about me, all the parts I'm trying to protect you from right now, you'll run. And I'm afraid that if you do, I won't survive it." "What parts?" Maya asked. "What aren't you telling me?" "Things that would change how you see me," Dominic said. "Things that would sound insane if I said them out loud. Things I need you to trust me enough to hear without immediately dismissing them as impossible." "That's cryptic," Maya pointed out. "And kind of unfair. You're asking me to trust you while admitting you're keeping secrets." "I know," Dominic said. "I know it's not fair. But I'm asking anyway. Give me a little more time. Let me show you who I am before I tell you what I am." "What you are," Maya repeated. "That's a strange way to phrase it." Dominic's jaw tightened. He looked like he was waging an internal war with himself. "Just trust me," he said finally. "A little longer." Maya studied his face. The intensity in those amber eyes, the tension in his shoulders, the way his thumb was stroking unconscious circles on the back of her hand. Every instinct she had should be telling her to walk away from this man with his secrets and intensity. Instead, she found herself nodding. "Okay," she said. "A little longer. But Dominic, whatever it is, it can't stay secret forever. If this thing between us is real, it has to be built on honesty." "I know," Dominic said, relief flooding his features. "And I will tell you. Soon. I promise." They stayed at the coffee shop for 3 hours. The conversation flowed easily, touching on everything from childhood memories to future dreams. Dominic made her laugh with stories about disastrous security assignments and overprotective clients. Maya shared translation mishaps that had led to diplomatic incidents. When they finally left, the rain had stopped. The city smelled clean and fresh, puddles reflecting the gray sky. Dominic walked her to her car, his hand finding hers naturally, like they'd been doing this for years instead of hours. "This was the best first date I've ever had," Maya said when they reached her Honda. Dominic smiled. "Just the first of many. When can I see you again?" "You're very confident," Maya said. "What makes you think there will be a second date?" "Because you're smiling," Dominic said, "and you haven't let go of my hand, and because I can see it in your eyes. You feel this too." This connection. This inevitability. Maya wanted to argue, wanted to maintain some semblance of playing it cool. But he was right. She did feel it. Tomorrow she found herself saying, "I have a translation deadline, but I could meet you for dinner." Tomorrow, Dominic agreed immediately. "Where?" "Anywhere. You pick." "There's a Thai place on 23rd, Maya said. "Small, quiet, amazing food. 7 o'clock? "I'll be there at 6:45, Dominic said, and Maya laughed. "Of course you will." He stepped closer, raising his free hand to cup her face. Maya's breath caught as he leaned in slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. When his lips met hers, it was gentle, careful, a soft press that sent electricity racing down her spine. He pulled back before she was ready, resting his forehead against hers. "I've wanted to do that since Friday night," he murmured. "Was it worth the wait?" Maya asked, her voice coming out breathier than she intended. "No," Dominic said honestly. "Because now I know what I've been missing, and waiting even one more day feels impossible." "Then maybe don't wait," Maya said, surprising herself. She pulled him back down, kissing him properly this time. Less gentle, more heat, her free hand fisting in his shirt to keep him close. Dominic made a low sound in his throat that Maya felt all the way through her body. His arms came around her, pulling her flush against him, and for a moment, the entire world disappeared. There was only Dominic. Only the way he tasted like coffee and something wilder. Only the way his hands trembled slightly as they held her. Only the way her heart hammered against her ribs like it was trying to reach his. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dominic looked at her with something like awe. "You're going to be the death of me," he said quietly. "Good," Maya said, still gripping his shirt. "Because you've been driving me crazy since Friday." They stood there for another moment, neither wanting to let go. Finally, Maya forced herself to step back, smoothing down her sweater with shaking hands. "I should go," she said. "I have work to do, and if I don't leave now, I'm going to do something impulsive like invite you back to my apartment." Dominic's eyes darkened. "That wouldn't be terrible. It would be too fast," Maya said firmly, even as every cell in her body disagreed. "We're already moving at lightning speed. I need to maintain at least some boundaries." Dominic nodded, clearly struggling with the same restraint. "You're right. We should take this slow." "Slow," Maya repeated. "Right. Slow." Neither of them moved. Then Dominic laughed, the sound rough and genuine. "This is the worst at being slow I've ever seen." Maya grinned. "Terrible at it. Absolutely awful." "Tomorrow," Dominic said. 7 o'clock. Thai food and hopefully more of that kissing. "Tomorrow," Maya agreed. She got into her car before she could change her mind, but rolled down the window. Dominic leaned down, resting his arms on the door. "Drive safe," he said. "Text me when you get home." "You're very bossy for someone I've known 3 days," Maya pointed out. Concerned, Dominic corrected. "There's a difference." Maya started the engine, but Dominic didn't step back. He just kept looking at her with that intensity that made her want to forget all her careful boundaries and drag him home with her. "Go," she said. "Before I make a decision I'll regret." "I'm going," Dominic said, but he didn't move. "Maya, I meant what I said. About all of it. This is real. You're real. And whatever happens, whatever I have to tell you eventually, that won't change." "Now you're being cryptic again," Maya said. "It's very annoying." "I know," Dominic said. "But necessary. For now." He finally stepped back, letting her pull out of the parking space. Maya watched him in her rearview mirror as she drove away. He stood there until she turned the corner, still watching, still protecting. Even when she couldn't see him anymore, she could feel his presence like a warm weight against her spine. She made it 3 blocks before pulling over and texting him. That was intense. His response came immediately. In a good way or a bad way. Maya smiled at her phone. "I'm still deciding. Ask me again tomorrow." Tomorrow can't come fast enough. Maya drove home with a smile on her face, her lips still tingling from Dominic's kiss, her entire body humming with anticipation. This was crazy. She knew it was crazy. But for the first time in years, crazy felt right. Her apartment felt empty when she let herself in. She tried to focus on work, pulling up the legal contract she needed to translate from Spanish to English. But her mind kept wandering to amber eyes and rough voices, and the feeling of strong arms around her. Her phone buzzed. "Chloe, tell me everything." Maya groaned but smiled. "It was good," she typed back. "Really good. We're seeing each other again tomorrow." "That's it?" Chloe replied. "That's all you're giving me? What do you want me to say?" Maya wrote, "That he's perfect and terrifying and I'm already in way too deep and it's only been 3 days?" "Yes." Chloe sent. "Exactly that. Tell me more." They texted back and forth for an hour, Maya sharing carefully edited details about the date. She left out the intensity of the connection, the way Dominic looked at her like she was the answer to everything. The cryptic comments about secrets he couldn't share yet. Some things were too new, too fragile, too exposed to outside scrutiny. That night, Maya lay in bed, staring at her phone. She should sleep. Should rest before her morning deadline. Instead, she found herself typing a message to Dominic. "Are you awake?" His response was instant. "Always. For you, always." "That's excessive," Maya typed, but she was smiling. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Thinking too much," she admitted. "About what?" "You," Maya typed before she could second-guess herself. "About how fast this is happening. About how much I like you already. About how that should scare me more than it does." "Does it scare you?" Dominic asked. "Yes," Maya replied, "but not enough to stop." "Good," he sent, "because I'm not stopping either. Whatever this is, whatever it becomes, I'm in this completely." "You can't say things like that," Maya typed. "We barely know each other." "I know enough," Dominic sent. "I know you make me feel alive in a way I haven't felt in longer than you can imagine. I know that every moment I'm not with you feels like wasted time. I know that when I kissed you today, something in me recognized something in you, and now, I can't unknow that." Maya stared at the message, her heart racing. This was too much. Too intense, too everything she'd been trying to avoid her entire adult life. And yet, "I feel it too," she typed. "This connection, this pull. It doesn't make sense, but I feel it." "Then let's stop fighting it," Dominic sent. "Let's just see where this goes." Without overthinking it. Without trying to control it. Just feeling it. "I'm not good at not overthinking," Maya admitted. "I know," Dominic sent, and she could almost hear the smile in his words. "But I'm patient. And I'm not going anywhere." They texted until 2 in the morning, the conversation drifting from serious to silly and back again. Dominic told her about his favorite books, his morning routines, the scar on his shoulder from a climbing accident when he was 16. Maya shared her coffee addiction, her terrible singing voice, the fact that she could recite the periodic table in 4 languages but couldn't remember anyone's birthday. When they finally said goodnight, Maya felt something settle in her chest, something that felt dangerous and wonderful and terrifying all at once. She was falling for him, fast and hard and completely. And the scariest part was that it didn't feel like falling. It felt like finally standing up. Monday morning arrived too slowly. Maya finished her translation at 6 a.m., sent it off to the client, then spent the next 13 hours counting down to 7 o'clock. She changed outfits 3 times again, finally settling on a dark red dress that Chloe had bought her for Christmas last year. "Bold color for a bold choice," her sister had said. Maya had never worn it. Tonight felt like the right time. She arrived at the Thai restaurant at 7 o'clock exactly. Dominic was already there, sitting at a corner booth, and when he looked up and saw her, His entire face transformed. "You look incredible," he said, standing to greet her. "So do you," Maya replied. And it was true. He wore dark jeans and a gray button-down that made his amber eyes even more striking. They ordered food they barely tasted, too focused on conversation and the magnetic pull between them. Dominic reached across the table and took her hand, his thumb tracing patterns on her palm that made her shiver. "Tell me about your day," he said. "The boring details. The parts most people don't care about." Maya found herself sharing everything. The frustrating client who kept changing requirements, the coffee shop owner who always spelled her name wrong, the stray cat she'd seen on her morning run. Dominic listened to all of it like every word mattered. "Your turn," Maya said. "Tell me something real. Something you don't usually share." Dominic was quiet for a moment, his expression becoming serious. "I'm lonely," he said finally. "I have people around me all the time. Employees, pack." His jaw tightened slightly on that word. "Friends. But there's a difference between being surrounded by people and being truly known by someone." "I've been alone for a long time, Maya. In the ways that matter. I understand that," Maya said softly. "The diplomat's daughter who never stayed anywhere long enough to build real roots. I know what it's like to be surrounded by people and still feel isolated." "That's why you're different," Dominic said. "When I talk to you, I don't feel alone. When I'm with you, the world makes sense in a way it hasn't for longer than you can imagine." "There you go again," Maya said, being intense and saying things that are too much too soon. "I can't help it," Dominic said simply. "Not with you." They finished dinner and walked through the city, hand in hand, talking about everything and nothing. The night was cool, stars hidden behind clouds, the streets still damp from morning rain. Dominic pulled her close as they walked, his arm around her shoulders, and Maya let herself lean into his warmth. "Come back to my place," Dominic said when they reached her car. "Just for a drink. Just to talk more." "I don't think talking is what would happen," Maya said, even as temptation curled through her. "You're probably right," Dominic admitted, a smile playing at his lips. "But I'm asking anyway." Maya looked up at him, at the intensity in his amber eyes, at the way he was holding himself back even as everything in him leaned toward her. Every rational part of her brain said this was too fast. They'd known each other 4 days. 4 days wasn't enough time to feel this deeply, to trust this completely. But her heart, her instincts, every part of her that existed beyond logic, was screaming yes. "Okay," she heard herself say. One drink. Dominic's apartment was everything Maya expected, and nothing she'd prepared for. Modern, expensive, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river, but it wasn't the luxury that caught her attention. It was the personal touches. Books everywhere, well-worn and clearly read. Photographs on the walls, black and white images of forests and mountains. A guitar in the corner, the wood polished from use. "You play?" Maya asked, gesturing to the instrument. "Used to," Dominic said, moving to the kitchen. "My grandfather taught me. I haven't picked it up in years." "Why not?" "Life got complicated," he said. "Responsibilities piled up. Some things fell away." He poured them each a glass of wine, expensive red that probably cost more than Maya's monthly grocery budget. They sat on the couch, close but not touching, both aware of the tension crackling between them. "This is a nice place," Maya said, looking around. "Feels lonely," Dominic said quietly. "Most nights I work late at the office. When I'm here, it's usually just to sleep." "Don't you have family?" Maya asked. "Friends who visit?" "My pack," Dominic started, then stopped. The word hung between them, strange and out of place. "My people," he corrected. "They're around. But this is my private space. I don't usually bring anyone here." "Why did you bring me?" Maya asked. "Because I wanted you to see it," Dominic said simply. "I wanted you in my space. Wanted to know what it feels like to have you here." "And?" Maya prompted. And it feels right, Dominic said. Like something that was missing suddenly makes sense. They talked for another hour, the conversation flowing as easily as it had from the beginning, but the tension kept building, a physical thing that made the air feel thick and charged. Every time their hands brushed, Maya felt sparks. Every time Dominic looked at her, she forgot how to breathe. I should go, Maya said finally, even as every part of her wanted to stay. It's getting late, and we both have work tomorrow. Stay, Dominic said quietly. His hand came up to cup her face, thumb stroking her cheekbone just a little longer. This is dangerous, Maya whispered. Being here, feeling this. It's too fast. I know. Dominic agreed. But I don't care. Do you? Maya should say yes. Should protect herself. Should remember all the reasons why this was a terrible idea. Instead, she leaned forward and kissed him. The kiss started gentle but quickly deepened. Dominic pulled her closer, one hand tangling in her hair, the other sliding around her waist. Maya's hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him impossibly nearer, trying to eliminate every inch of space between them. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dominic rested his forehead against hers. I need to tell you something, he said. Something important. Okay, Maya said, her heart still racing. There's something about me, Dominic started, then stopped. Something I've been trying to find the right time to explain. But there is no right time. There's only now. You're scaring me, Maya said. Just say it. I'm not human, Dominic said quietly. Maya pulled back slightly, looking at him. What? I'm a werewolf, Dominic said. An alpha. The leader of the Pacific Northwest pack. And from the moment you walked into that speed dating event, I knew you were my mate. My fated mate. The person I've been searching for my entire life. Maya stared at him. Then she laughed, sharp and disbelieving. That's your big secret? Werewolves? You expect me to believe you're a werewolf? I can prove it, Dominic said quietly. If you'll let me. This is insane, Maya said, standing up from the couch. This is actually insane. Werewolves aren't real. They're mythology. Fiction. Maya, please, Dominic said, standing too. I know how this sounds. I know it's impossible. But it's true. All of it. I don't know if this is some kind of joke or if you actually believe this, Maya said, backing toward the door. But either way, I need to leave. Don't go, Dominic said, moving toward her. Please, just let me show you. Let me prove it. Stay away from me, Maya said, fear creeping into her voice now. I don't know what's happening here, but I'm leaving. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. Dominic didn't try to stop her, but she could feel his eyes on her back, heavy with sadness and regret. Maya, he called as she reached the door. I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner. I should have found a better way. But everything I said is true. And you're still my mate, whether you believe me or not. Maya didn't respond. She just left, practically running to the elevator, her heart hammering against her ribs. This was crazy. Dominic was crazy. Werewolves. Fated mates. What kind of delusion was he living in? She made it to her car before the tears started, not because she believed him, but because for 4 perfect days she'd thought she'd found something real. Someone who saw her, understood her, wanted her, and it had all been built on insanity. Her phone buzzed as she started the engine. Dominic. Please don't run, the message read. I know I scared you. I know this sounds impossible. But I'm not crazy, and I'm not lying. Just give me a chance to prove it. Maya deleted the message without responding and drove home, trying to ignore the ache in her chest that felt suspiciously like heartbreak. She made it to her apartment, locked the door, and collapsed on her couch. Her phone kept buzzing. Dominic calling, texting, each message more desperate than the last. Finally, she turned it off completely and sat in the silence, trying to process what had just happened. Werewolves. He'd actually said werewolves. With a straight face, looking at her like he expected her to believe him. It was insane. Completely, totally insane. And yet, a small voice in the back of her mind whispered, the way he moved, predatory and fluid, the strange amber eyes that seemed to glow in certain light, the intensity that felt almost inhuman, the way he'd talked about Pac, then corrected himself, the certainty in his voice when he'd said she was his mate. No, Maya told herself firmly. That's crazy thinking. There's no such thing as werewolves. He's delusional. And I dodged a bullet. But sleep didn't come easily, and when it finally did, she dreamed of amber eyes and rough voices, and the feeling of strong arms that had made her feel safer than she'd ever felt in her life. The next morning, Maya's phone had 37 missed calls and 23 text messages, all from Dominic. She deleted them without reading and tried to focus on work. It didn't work. By noon, she gave up on the translation she was supposed to be working on and called Chloe. He told me he's a werewolf, Maya said the moment her sister answered. I'm sorry, what? Chloe said. Dominic. The guy from speed dating. The perfect, intense, amazing guy. Last night he told me he's a werewolf. An alpha. And that I'm his fated mate. There was a long silence. Then Chloe said, Okay, backing up, start from the beginning. Maya told her everything. The dates, the connection, the intensity. The way Dominic had made her feel seen and understood in ways no one ever had. And then the bombshell confession that had shattered it all. So he's either genuinely delusional or pulling some kind of elaborate prank, Maya finished. Either way, I can't see him again. Can't, Chloe said slowly. Or won't. What's the difference? The difference is can't suggests impossibility, won't suggests choice. So which is it, Maya? Are you running because he might be crazy? Or because you're scared he might be telling the truth? That's ridiculous, Maya said. Werewolves aren't real. Is it though? Chloe asked. Ridiculous, I mean. You're a woman who speaks 5 languages, who's lived all over the world, who translates concepts that don't exist in other languages. You know better than anyone that reality is bigger and stranger than we think. Just because something doesn't fit your worldview doesn't mean it's impossible. You think I should believe him, Maya said flatly. I think you should listen to him, Chloe corrected. Hear what he has to say. Let him prove it or disprove it. What's the worst that happens? You confirm he's crazy and move on. But what if he's not? What if there's a whole world you don't know about, and he's trying to show it to you? Then I'd be even more terrified, Maya admitted quietly. Because that would mean everything I thought I knew about reality is wrong. And it would mean he's been lying to me, keeping this huge secret. He told you eventually, Chloe pointed out. He could have kept lying. He could have strung you along without ever revealing the truth. Instead, he risked losing you by being honest. Doesn't that count for something? Maya was quiet, thinking. Her sister had a point. Dominic could have kept the werewolf thing secret indefinitely. Could have let their relationship develop without ever revealing that truth. Instead, he'd told her. Even knowing she might run. Even knowing she might think he was crazy. Call him, Chloe said gently. At least hear him out. Give him a chance to prove it, and if you still think he's delusional after that, then walk away. But don't run without giving him that chance. Maya hung up and stared at her phone for a long time. 37 missed calls. Dominic had been trying to reach her all night, all morning. Finally, she turned the phone back on and scrolled through his messages. Most were variations of, please talk to me and I'm sorry, and I can explain, but the last one, sent at 4 in the morning, was different. I understand if you never want to see me again. I understand if you think I'm crazy. But you deserve the truth, all of it, and I'm asking for 1 hour of your time to show you. After that, if you want to walk away, I won't stop you. I'll respect your choice. But please, Maya, give me 1 hour. Her finger hovered over the delete button. Then, before she could second-guess herself, she typed a response. 1 hour. Where and when? His response came within seconds. Thank you. My apartment. Tonight at 7. I'll send a car. I can drive myself, Maya typed back. I know, Dominic sent. But I'd feel better knowing you got here safely. Maya almost argued, then decided to pick her battles. Fine. 7 o'clock. The day crawled by. Maya tried to work, tried to convince herself this was a terrible idea, tried to prepare for what she might see. But nothing could have prepared her for what happened when she arrived at Dominic's building that evening. The car service he'd sent was waiting exactly on time. The driver was professional, quiet, opening doors and asking if she needed anything. But there was something about him. The way he moved, the way his eyes caught the light, the way he looked at her with a strange mix of curiosity and respect. You're her, he said as they pulled up to Dominic's building. The alpha's mate. Everyone can feel it. Everyone knows. Maya didn't know how to respond to that, so she didn't. She just took the elevator up to Dominic's floor, her heart hammering with each passing level. Dominic was waiting at his door. He looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes, hair disheveled like he'd been running his hands through it all day. His expression when he saw her was pure relief mixed with fear. You came, he said quietly. I said I would, Maya replied. 1 hour. Then you decide. He stepped back, letting her into the apartment. It looked the same as last night, but felt different, charged with possibility and danger. Can I get you something to drink? Dominic asked. No, Maya said. I want you to prove it. Prove what you said. Show me that werewolves are real. Dominic nodded slowly. He moved to the center of the living room, putting distance between them. Before I do this, he said, I need you to promise me something. What? Don't run, Dominic said. What you're about to see might be frightening. Your instincts might scream at you to run, but I need you to trust that I would never, ever hurt you. I can't promise that, Maya said honestly. If I'm terrified, I'm going to run. That's basic survival instinct. Fair enough, Dominic said. Then at least promise you'll try to remember it's still me, that I'm still the person you've spent the last 4 days getting to know. The person who makes terrible jokes and drinks too much coffee and thinks you're the most incredible woman he's ever met. I'll try, Maya said. That's all I can offer. It's enough, Dominic said. Then, before Maya could prepare herself, he began to change. It wasn't like the movies, wasn't slow or agonizing or accompanied by dramatic music. It was fast and fluid and utterly impossible. One moment, Dominic stood before her in human form. The next, a massive wolf occupied the space where he'd been. Not a normal wolf. This creature was easily twice the size of any wolf Maya had ever seen in nature documentaries. Its fur was dark gray, almost black. And its eyes, those eyes were the same amber as Dominic's. The wolf watched her, utterly still, letting her process what she was seeing. Maya's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the couch, her mind struggling to reconcile what her eyes were showing her. This isn't possible, she whispered. The wolf, Dominic, made a low sound. Not quite a growl, more like a whine. He moved slowly toward her, each step careful and deliberate, like approaching a skittish animal. Maya's entire body was shaking. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to get away from the predator moving toward her. But she remembered her promise. Tried to remember this was Dominic, the man who'd held her gently and kissed her like she was precious, and listened to every word she said like it mattered. The wolf reached her, and slowly, carefully, laid his massive head in her lap. The weight of it was shocking. Real. Undeniably real. Maya's hand trembled as she reached out, fingers sinking into thick fur. The wolf's eyes closed, and she felt a rumble of contentment vibrate through its body. "This is real," Maya said, still struggling to believe it. "This is actually real." The wolf pulled back and the change happened again, fur receding, bone restructuring, until Dominic knelt before her in human form, breathing hard from the transformation. "Real," he confirmed, quietly. "All of it. Werewolves. Mates. The feeling that you are the other half of my soul. All real." Maya stared at him, her entire worldview crumbling and reforming. "I don't understand," she said. "How is this possible? How does any of this exist and the world doesn't know?" "Because we're careful," Dominic said. "Because we've spent centuries hiding in plain sight. Because humans see what they expect to see, and they don't expect monsters to be real." "You're not a monster," Maya said automatically, then stopped. "I don't know why I said that." "Because you feel it," Dominic said softly. "The bond between us, your soul recognizes mine, even when your mind is still catching up." He moved to sit beside her on the couch, careful to maintain some distance. "Ask me anything," he said. "I'll answer every question. I'll tell you everything." Maya took a shaky breath. "The fated mate thing. What does that actually mean?" "It means we're bonded," Dominic explained. "On a level that goes beyond choice or logic. When werewolves find their fated mate, it's instant recognition. Soul deep. I knew the moment you walked into that room that you were mine, that I was yours, that nothing would ever be the same. But I'm human," Maya pointed out. "How can a human be a werewolf's mate?" "It's rare," Dominic admitted. "But it happens. The bond doesn't care about species, only compatibility. Only the perfect match of souls. You feel it too, even if you don't understand it. That pull between us. That sense of recognition." "I thought I was going crazy," Maya whispered. "Thought I was letting my heart overrule my head because you're attractive and charming and paid attention to me." "You're not crazy," Dominic said. "You're exactly what I've been searching for 200 years. 200? Maya's eyes widened. "How old are you?" 237, Dominic said. "We age slowly. Very slowly. I'll look like this for another century at least." Maya processed that, the implications, the reality of what he was offering her. "And if I accept this?" she asked. "If I accept you, accept this bond, what happens then?" "Then we build a life together," Dominic said. "You meet my pack, you become part of my world. Eventually, if you choose, I can turn you, make you like me, so we can have forever instead of just a human lifetime. And if I don't choose that?" Maya asked. "Then we have whatever time we have," Dominic said simply. "I won't force you into anything, won't demand you change who you are. I just want you in my life, however that looks." Maya sat in silence, processing. Everything she thought she knew about reality had just been overturned. And yet, looking at Dominic, at the hope and fear and love in his amber eyes, it didn't feel wrong. It felt like the missing piece finally clicking into place. "I need time," she said finally, "to process this, to figure out what this means for my life." "Take all the time you need," Dominic said. "I've waited centuries. I can wait longer." "But Maya?" "Yes? I meant what I said. Every word. You're my mate, my future, my everything. And I will spend every day proving that you can trust me with your heart." Maya looked at him, at this impossible man who was somehow exactly what she'd been searching for without knowing it. "Then prove it," she said quietly. "Show me that this world you're offering is worth stepping into. Starting now." "Starting always," Dominic promised. And when he pulled her close, Maya let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, fate knew what it was doing after all.